Iran built its biggest advantage underground. Now that advantage may be turning into a trap. Multiple assessments describe Iran's missile cities and underground headquarters as sealed off, entrances hit, exits buried, surface support destroyed. And if the estimates are right, as many as 200,000 to 300,000 personnel could be stuck inside Iran's underground network at the exact moment the country needs those units to operate. Here is the nightmare. A third of the force cannot move, cannot launch, cannot resupply, cannot evacuate. Iran spent 40 years preparing for this scenario. Corridors, launch pads, depots, and command centers buried 80 to 90 meters deep. The plan was simple: stay hidden, surface briefly to fire, disappear again. But that plan had a fatal flaw. The moment a launcher surfaces, it becomes a target. And in this campaign, aircraft and drones were reportedly waiting overhead 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for that exact moment. On February 28, 2026, the equation reportedly flipped in days. Instead of tunnels protecting Iran's forces, tunnels began locking them in. The core claim is blunt. The underground network turned into a death trap because entrances and exits, its lungs and doors, were attacked systematically. So this is not just bombs hitting Iran. It is Iran's ability to fight from underground, possibly being shut down. Iran's tunnel strategy was never just one site, it was doctrine. Mountains carved into corridors, missiles, launch pads, ammunition, and command nodes underground. Some reporting points to CSIS assessments describing at least 20 to 30 large underground missile bases. Iran believed those bases could survive United States and Israeli air power. Missiles would stay safe below, roll out to fire, then hide again. But burying missiles underground also makes them fixed targets. Tunnels do not move, entrances do not move, access roads do not move, and launching forces exposure. Doors open, vehicles move. Fuel flows. That surface moment produces signatures and patterns. If surveillance is persistent, exposure becomes punishment. The strike package described for February 28th is framed as a rare display of United States aviation power. All three main strategic bomber platforms operating in the same campaign window. B-2 Spirit, stealth. B-1 Lancer, supersonic. B-52 Stratofortress, heavy bomber. Using all three simultaneously is described as extremely rare. And the weapons highlighted are built for one purpose: reach underground and erase the surface network that keeps tunnels alive. The key system is the GBU-57 MOP, a 30,000-pound bunker buster. Only the B-2 is described as capable of carrying it, and it is designed to penetrate reinforced concrete and rock layers to strike buried facilities. Another weapon appears repeatedly: the GBU-31 JDAM, a 2,000-pound precision-guided bomb used to hit tunnel entrances and surface infrastructure. And the B-52 role is described as brutally simple: saturate wide areas around entrances and support buildings, systematically destroying the surface layer that makes underground warfare possible. Roads, power, ventilation, access, recovery routes. One political phrase attributed to Trump in reporting around these strikes captures the intent: shock and awe. A message that Washington was no longer holding back. The strategy described is two-phased, and it punishes the surface moment. Phase 1. Persistent surveillance and rapid strike. Surveillance aircraft and armed drones circle over known base areas and strike anything that emerges. Launch ramps, missiles, vehicles, within minutes. Phase 2. Heavy bombers hit the structure, not the launcher. Tunnel entrances, exits, access roads, support facilities, struck with bunker-busting munitions and area effects, burying personnel and equipment underground. Kill what moves, then seal what remains. A United States commander statement, cited in open reporting, put the scale in blunt terms: over 1,700 targets struck in the region. Open source analysis describes heavy damage to major ballistic missile sites in the first 48 hours of an operation, referred to as Roaring Lion, including what some analysts label Iran's 4 largest ballistic missile bases. The named locations include Hormuz Province, a medium-range ballistic missile base with support structures destroyed and underground launch capability described. Isfahan, described as hit again after rebuilding from June 2025. One analysis described an explosion from a launch pad caught in motion and damage to a control building. Khorramabad, in Loristan. A tunnel network support point near an entrance reportedly targeted. East Azerbaijan. Entrances and support points, described as buried under heavy bombardment. Satellite imagery references extend the picture. Damage at a naval complex and drone sites. Aircraft shelters damaged or collapsed. And a Shiraz area missile base with a damaged missile leaking fuel and reddish smoke, consistent with nitric acid fuel, as launch pads detonated. The most sensitive set is nuclear infrastructure. An international watchdog statement referenced in reporting said damage was confirmed at entrances to the fuel enrichment facility at Natanz, with no radiological impact expected. Separately, Israeli statements described striking a major ballistic missile production and storage facility in Isfahan, targeting existing stocks and future production capacity. A munitions depot in Dezful was described as suffering severe secondary explosions. By March 3rd, imagery was described as confirming roughly a dozen missile bases damaged by United States or Israeli strikes, with United States activity described as heavier in the south and Israeli activity heavier in the north. Now to the most dramatic estimate: personnel. Analysts estimate 200,000 to 300,000 personnel may be deployed in Iran's underground bases. Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps units, missile operators, technicians, air defense teams, command staff, logistics personnel. Against a total force estimated around 960,000, that would mean nearly 1/3 of the army underground. If entrances collapse, air circulation can be cut, supply and fuel lines are severed, medical evacuation becomes impossible, communications infrastructure can be damaged. Units cut off from the outside world cannot fire missiles, receive reinforcements, or be evacuated. And this is not just a tactical delay. It creates panic pressure, limited air, limited medical options, no safe movement to rotate crews. Meanwhile, the forces still outside are described as operating with degraded air defense, broken command links, and collapsing logistics. An army on paper struggling to coordinate in practice. One reported indicator is an 86% decrease in missile launches over 4 days, presented as the most concrete sign that the underground complex is locked down. If that decrease is accurate, it supports the thesis. The launch system was not just hit, it was suppressed. Persistent surveillance stayed overhead. Every door that opened became a target. A former United States Army missile expert named Colin David is cited describing repeated waves destroying 2 or 3 targets each time until bases lose effectiveness. This was not only about big bombs, it was also about detection. Reporting describes a layered intelligence stack, commercial imagery from Planet Labs and Vantor, military satellites, and spy planes, plus signals intelligence, human intelligence, and cyber operations. A briefing statement attributed to United States Central Command Admiral Brad Cooper described the aim as eliminating remaining ballistic missile launch pads and reducing Iran's ability to attack the United States and its allies. The method is direct. Neutralize air defenses early, then keep surveillance aircraft and armed drones over known bases. Any movement, a launch pad emerging, a truck rolling, gets detected and struck fast. One Planet Labs sequence is used as an example. On March 1st, a satellite captured a launch pad moving down a road near a base north of Isfahan. A crater suggested a strike attempt that missed. The next day, the same area showed heavy bombardment on the facility's entrances. The same analysis frames a chain of miscalculations. Air defenses collapsed quickly. Bunker-busting penetration was underestimated. Speed and simultaneity were misread. Decentralizing authority did not matter once launch pads were destroyed. Repairs could not move when transport lines were severed. It also highlights a deeper mistake. After the 12-day war in 2025, Tehran pushed facilities deeper underground and rebuilt them, believing depth solved the problem. The counter logic is simple. Deeper just invites bigger bombs next time. 4 pathways are outlined. Sustained air pressure. Internal pressure aimed at regime destabilization, forcing negotiations by degrading capacity. Or a long-term degrade strategy that makes nuclear, missile, and military infrastructure hard to rebuild. Whichever path plays out, the central claim is the same. Iran's underground shield may have turned into its greatest weakness, and the operation continues. For 40 years, Iran dug into mountains and built missile cities as a shield. In this version of the war, that shield becomes a liability. Entrances collapse. Launchers are hit as they surface. Air defenses are neutralized. Logistics breaks. Hundreds of thousands underground become trapped, while the forces above ground are left with a broken chain of command and weakened protection. If the reported 86% drop in launches is real, this is not just damage, it is paralysis. And in a conflict defined by who can still fire, move, and communicate, paralysis is the beginning of defeat.